On this episode, set money aside. Hey everyone, this is the quarter show, and Ben brought up a good point. We haven't spoke about this in a while here, and there are times in the sales cycle when the prospect will just kind of put your attention and box you in on price, box you in on money, and next thing you know, instead of talking about the sale, next thing you know, instead of talking about the product or the service or whatever, you've been essentially derailed by your prospect, and here you are now talking about price, and you're like haggling, or it's budget, or it's whatever, and you've gotten roped into this thing, and you realize you've gone down a road that you shouldn't be, and now you're kind of stuck. Whereas you really want to get it back on the rails and keep going down the sales cycle and keep going in terms of evangelizing what you do and getting them, focusing on a value, focusing on what you're going to deliver, whatever, and keep it focused and on point. But prospects actually are pretty good at derailing you and moving it, making it about money, making it about price, making it about budget. And truthfully, when you make it about price and you make it about budget, the whole tone of the conversation comes down because it's not sexy. People don't like it. It's not enjoyable. You don't like it. They don't like it. And then it brings it down to this like haggling, like back and forth banter of like, well, can you do it for this? Can you do it for that? Blah blah blah, and the excitement and the enthusiasm of the sale just kind of like just gets sucked out of you, and them too. And so one of the techniques that you can use, and I don't talk a lot about techniques per se, but one of the things that we've done that has been really successful is, when they go down that path, you can just simply say, look, let's just take money and we're going to set it aside. And I will actually do this with my hands while I'm on the phone. I've done it many times. I've done it in person many times, but I just tell them, look, let's just take the money and let's just set it aside for a second. Or let's take the budget and set it aside. Or let's take the price and set it aside for a second altogether. Let's just remove it from the equation. Let's just put it on the bench. Let's just put it on the bench.
Yeah, put it on the bench.
I'd say, I'll say let's put it on the bench.
Let's bench money for a second.
Let's just bench money for a second. Let's just get it out of the way. Right?
On the phone, he'll do that. Yeah.
On the phone, and I'll literally do this thing, and it's funny because it's just a thing, but
you got to get it out of your head.
You get it out of your head.
Their head.
You get it out of their head, and often what happens is they will just kind of relax and be like, okay, and kind of like just come down back into the sale conversation. And you just kind of remove it. You just go, okay, let's just remove that from the equation. We're going to come back to that. Let's come back to that later. We'll address that. We'll eventually get there, but let's just remove it. And then you can continue and get the thing back on the rails and keep talking and keep them focused on what are we doing? What's the goal? What's the value? What problem are we solving? And all these different things, and work to complete the sale so they're at the right stage. They're at the right frame of mind, as opposed to prematurely getting into budget and money and different things and distracting, and then it just kind of kills the sale. Get it out of the equation, sell, and take it all the way through, and then at the right stage, bring it back in, right?
Yeah.
But when they're sold, bring it back in when they're sold.
Exactly. And you can comment on this. My thought on it is it's not an effort to hide the price. I don't think you'd ever say it's an effort to hide the price.
I'm not afraid to hide the price at all.
But of course you're not, and I'm not either. But I mean, even to the point of like, if a person's talking to me and well, how much is the video, right? And we haven't even discussed what their needs and challenges are and whatnot. I'll go, look, probably for a single video, I'm going to ask you to spend between $4,000 and $6,000. But for now, I'd like to bench price. Right, I want to talk about what you need first, but we can get to that, right? And factually, you need a series of videos, and it's going to cost more than that.
Yeah.
But I want to, I'll tell them. I'm not. I guess the idea isn't to go, okay, no, we're not even going to talk about price.
No, because here's the thing. I don't want to comment on this. Is that you can use as pre-price or after price. Often for me, I've already told them the price. Yeah. Often for me, it's all they already know. Hey, it's XYZ investment, and now they're going into that. And so I'm just saying, let's just bench this because I want to finish the sale and take them through and handle every objection and get them sold, because you need to build value. Value has to be above price for that to push over the edge, right? You have to continue to sell and drive that value where it's over the edge and then they make the transaction. But I'm not there yet usually when they're at that stage, and maybe they start fixating on price or budget, and they start haggling it and going back, into that because they're here and they're not here in terms of value or being sold or being convicted. So I have more work to do as a salesperson. So I need to take it all the way through. But what Ben's saying, you can actually do it at both stages. You could do it pre-announcing price. I'm actually really transparent about price. Somebody asks me price, I'll tell them right away.
Yeah.
I don't hold it back. I'll just tell you right away. But once I tell you and you start going down that road and going into budget, I might just say, look, let's just bench that for a second. Let's just get it out of the way and we'll come back to it later. And then I can take it all the way through. And then when they're totally sold and they realize the value is dramatically above the price, I can circle back and then close it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and if you've done even a little bit of your homework with any particular prospect you're talking to, you pre-qualed them a little bit. Like they should be able to afford your product, right? Because sometimes you can be talking to a prospect, and if you haven't done your homework, and they pre-qual themselves and go, whoa, and you can tell them the price right away because you don't want to waste your time or their time.
No,
they go.
I don't think hiding price is a great idea anyway.
20 grand is like there's just no chance. Go, okay, cool. Look, appreciate it. I'm going to send you a flyer. Love to help in the future.
But yeah, I mean, if you think it's premature, you could do what Ben said earlier. But you can do the same thing. Let's just bench it and come back to it. Yeah. You can use it at both areas, like pre-price or after price. It's just for me, I typically it's price is usually already announced. They already know what the price is, and they start getting distracted by it and fixated on it and going down that road.
Right, and of course, price isn't really the point. It really isn't. If they're qualified to be a prospect for you at all, and I think nearly anyone is qualified for nearly anything. I don't mean to limit it or bring up something weird on that. I'm just saying, if they can afford your goods and services, then it really isn't the point. It's not the point of the discussion. The point is value and solution, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a neat little thing,
but try it when you're on the phone.
Yeah.
In person too. We in person.
Yeah.
Let's gonna take price. We're just gonna bench that for a second. You go, okay.
Yeah. It's incredibly effective.
All right. Good.
People do they kind of like.
I don't have to think about money.
Yeah. They pause it.
Oh.
They just forget about it for, temporarily sort of forget about it, and then you can just kind of go back to what you're doing. But it's a good way to sort of deploy control into the sales cycle, not let it get derailed, because you don't want to be following your prospect. You need to be leading your sale, and you need to maintain control. Not like you have to control every single thing, but you should. You got to control the sale, and you got to control their attention, and you got to steer it, and you want to time things and bring in price at the right stage and talk about those things at the right stage. But sales is a real art, right? And so if they get prematurely distracted by something, it's like you're at the wrong stage, and then it feels fragmented, and then it stalls it up and derails this thing. So if you find yourself there and you're like, oh God, here they go, and they're going back, and you're in the middle and you're starting to banter about price, and they're not totally sold, but they're not totally sold, and they're going on about price, bench it. Just say, you know what? Let's just set money aside for a second. Let's just set the price aside, or set the budget aside for a second. Just put it on the bench. Forget it. Forget about it. We'll circle back to it, and I'll address it later. Let me circle back to it, and then talk about like, hey, listen, how are you going to use this, or what problem does this solve, and then get them back into that sales cycle and take them all the way through, and then bring it in and close it.
Yeah.
Because by then, price has already been justified. So give it a go.
Bench it.
Yeah, there you go. So if you like hopefully you like that. If you like the episode, hit the old like button and subscribe. There, I think. Down in that region. And of course, share it with your sales team.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for watching.
Okay.